Sometimes you see people on a train or in the street, talking to empty air, right? Most of us look away and pretend we didn't see them. People assume they're mentally ill, tormented by hallucinations. But what if those hallucinations weren't hallucinations at all? "10 years ago, I had just started college, spending most nights at welcome parties and mixers. That's when I met Alex in our club. Good-looking, smooth talker, strangely humble. We clicked right away. He lived near campus and alone, so I was at his place almost daily. People called us the booze duo. Being paired with a popular, handsome guy like Alex didn't bother me at all. We were two of the strongest drinkers in the club, so we put away more than most. Because Alex stood out, he was always in the center. As his closest friend, I ended up there too, reaping more than a few benefits. One day, early in our second year, Chloe, Alex's girlfriend, called me around 2 a.m. "Hey, something's wrong with Alex. Come to his place, now." I was at a party and honestly didn't want to go, but her panic was real. She wouldn't explain, just kept saying, "Please come." I bailed on the party and rushed over. What I walked into was unreal. Alex was on the table, wearing only a fundoshi loincloth, in a sumo-like Sonkyo squat, moving his hands like a Bon dance. On the table were a saucer of sake and what looked like salt. If it had been only that, I could have chalked it up to drunk Alex being goofy. But tears were streaming down his face as he yelled, "Go Kanjo! Go Kanjo!" over and over at the top of his lungs. The clincher was the stench of urine. The table and his loincloth were soaked, had to be his. I spoke to him. Nothing. He kept shouting and dancing. Between sobs, Chloe told me what happened. She'd planned to visit. He didn't answer the intercom. She heard shouting inside, tried the knob, unlocked, and saw exactly what I was seeing. He'd been like that for at least an hour before I arrived. This is bad, I thought. He wasn't that type, but I figured Alex had taken something. I calmed Chloe and said, "He might be on drugs. It could get the police involved, but his safety comes first. I'm calling an ambulance." She agreed. Even when the EMTs arrived, Alex didn't change, but when they tried to move him, he thrashed so hard the police were called. It became a scene. Chloe and I were questioned, even suspected of drug use, but tests found no drugs in Alex's system. About 3 days later, he was discharged. "Some kind of unknown seizure," they said. He remembered almost nothing, smiled like always, and joked he must have overdrunk. I felt relieved. "You probably just hallucinated from drinking," I teased. "Congrats, you're a real alcoholic now." But from that day, Alex started to change. He zoned out a lot, and I often caught him mumbling to the wall. He stopped coming to class. I visited again and again. "It's just a minor thing," he'd deflect. Then, "I need space. Don't come until I contact you." It stung, but I backed off. About 3 months later, Alex called out of the blue. "I need to tell you something. Come over." The vibe felt wrong. I went immediately. When I opened the door, the room reeked of alcohol and sourness. Inside was a different Alex, stick-thin, unshaven, drinking. He looked at my shock and said, "You might not believe me, but I need to tell you the truth." I had no idea what he meant, but I listened. 3 days before that first episode, Alex had gone camping with friends in the next prefecture. They were barbecuing when a horrible smell rose from the fire. They poked the coals aside. A mass of burnt animal hair spilled out. Grossed out, they rebuilt the fire elsewhere. But from that day, strange things began. In town, at school, in the car, whenever that animal hair smell appeared, he'd see, at the edge of his vision, a woman in a kimono, with no eyes, no nose, only a mouth. She'd grin with just that mouth and stare at him. Every time he saw her, she was closer. I must have shown it on my face. That's just a hallucination, right? Please, just listen to the end, Alex said. So I nodded. The day before the ambulance incident, he'd had a strange dream. In it, he met an old man who called himself Alex's guardian spirit. The old man said, "The kimono woman you see was murdered by your ancestor. Her grudge tormented your line. At last, your ancestor struck a bargain. Our bloodline would never again set foot on that land, and the karma would be cut. But when you camped there, you stepped on that land. The karma returned. If nothing changes, you'll be tormented and killed. If you don't want that, at the time I tell you tomorrow, prepare these items and do exactly as I say." Alex woke up as the explanation ended. He'd been seeing the woman so often that he was desperate. He followed the instructions. "But once I got up on the table, my memory cuts out," he said. "I don't remember you or Chloe arriving, or the ambulance. Nothing." "And it didn't end there," he continued. "After that day, the woman started talking to me. 'I know how much I suffered,' she'd say. 'You're obliged to suffer too. I'll make the people around you suffer.' When he spoke, she answered. 'Why me?' he asked. 'You broke the promise,' she said. 'I didn't know about any promise.' 'The karma formed. Too bad.' She spoke to him anywhere, anytime. If he ignored her, a crushing depression hit, a pain that made him want to die but not be able to. You know Sharingan in Naruto? Alex said. Getting killed again and again in moments. It feels like that. He cried. The only relief, he said, is sleep, or when I follow the advice, the rituals, the ancestor shows me in dreams. I sleep badly, so I'm always drinking. When she talks to me in public, people think I'm muttering to myself. And when I do the rituals, I lose memory, like that night, so I'm scared to go outside. I'm not crazy. I'm talking to you normally, right? It isn't a hallucination. But she's coming more and more often. I can't hold out. I'll probably check into a hospital soon. I just needed to tell you this. Honestly, I still thought, hallucinations are terrifying, that a popular, handsome guy like Alex could end up like this. Sure enough, a few days later, Alex was admitted to a psych ward. Diagnosis: severe alcohol dependence with schizophrenia. It was all anyone at school talked about. I stopped going to parties. I was scared of alcoholism, plain and simple. I visited him often, and watching him worsen day by day was terrifying. Within a month, he could barely talk. Soon after, his parents contacted me. We'd met in the hospital and exchanged numbers. They said Alex would quit school and recover back home. I had a lot of my stuff at Alex's place, so I went by while they were packing. On his desk corkboard were tons of photos of us and our friends. I got sentimental. Then one photo froze me. It looked like the barbecue trip, 6 of them around a fire, and across the whole frame, faint but clear, was a translucent woman in a kimono, with no eyes, no nose, only a mouth. Huh? She matched Alex's description perfectly. Goosebumps exploded over me. Without thinking, I slipped the photo into my pocket. It felt like I had to. I didn't go for a cleansing or burning ritual. I didn't tell anyone. Somehow, I was sure nothing would help. I don't know why I felt that. Since then,
When I see people talking to the void in public, I see them differently. Some might truly be fighting something. Finally, why write this after 10 years? The trigger was a spirit medium I met through work.
Famous in her field, they said. But in person, she was just a normal lady, selling insurance by day, doing the other thing as volunteer work. I don't know why I told her a story so old, but I did. I brought the photo and explained everything. She said, "He's been captivated by something bad and is being toyed with. The guardian spirit is probably a lie, a mask she uses to play with him. You can do nothing wrong and still get snagged by a chance resonance. If it's a persistent, malicious thing, there's no simple fix. There is a path with training, but it's just as harsh. There are many unlucky people like that. Forget him." Her eyes were so sharp I couldn't argue. Maybe that's just how it is. The world is full of injustice and coldness. You might not believe this, but this is what I lived through. Noah had never been able to see anything spiritual. He lived nearly 20 years that way. Then something happened, and after that he sometimes saw those things. Now he needs both hands to count his fear stories. The moment a person who can't see suddenly starts seeing, it really comes out of nowhere, Noah said. This happened when he was in high school. Near Noah's home stood an abandoned house. It used to be a candy shop. By the time he was born, it had long been a ruin. According to his parents, the shop had been a hangout for kids. It was run by a classic, gutsy grandma. Kind and cheerful most days, but she would scold you hard when you crossed a line. "I treat every kid who comes here like my own grandchild," she used to say. Kids feared her a little as an ogre granny, yet loved her like a second grandmother. Noah's mom often visited, played there, and heard funny stories from her. But the grandma did not pass away still beloved as everyone's grandma. It began when she caught a shoplifter. She sold small accessories for girls as well. One day she noticed the count didn't match. Then a group of girls came and tattled. Mia bragged she stole a necklace. Furious, the grandma grabbed the girl when she came and yelled like blazing fire. Because she'd cherished the kids like true grandchildren, the sense of betrayal cut deeper. Even so, Noah's mom believes this. If the girl had admitted it and apologized, that woman would have forgiven her. But in front of the raging grandma, the girl cried and said, "I didn't take it." It wasn't me that poured oil on the flames. The grandma phoned the school, called the homeroom teacher and principal, then berated the sobbing girl before them and ranted, "What are you teaching these kids?" In the end, she called the parents, too. "Don't ever come to my store again," she said, and only then did her anger cool. For the girl, that was where it started. Her parents wept. Teachers labeled her a problem kid. Classmates, and even younger students, called her a criminal. No one would hear her side. For a small child, it was unbearable. A few days later, Mia fell from a pedestrian overpass near school and lost her life. By then, the grandma's roaring anger had cooled, and she was deeply shocked. Yet after yelling that much, maybe she couldn't admit she went too far. Whenever someone brought it up, she snapped, "A brat like that deserves it." Running away by dying, how cowardly. People started calling her the old lady with venom. Then one day, she learned she had made a terrible mistake. A family came to the store. Between the stern-faced parents stood a teary, familiar face, one of the girls who had tattled. "Actually," With a guilty look, the mother said words the old lady could hardly believe. That shoplifting? It wasn't Mia. It was our daughter. Your girl was very cute. Other girls were jealous. They framed Mia and put on a little play. Noah remembers his mother saying it with disgust. As things often go, the old lady was then blasted as the ogre who drove an innocent child to death. Kids she'd loved like grandchildren now called her nasty hag and murderer. Stones were thrown at the shop. Parents who'd long disliked her blunt mouth filed complaints. The school issued a notice. Don't go to that problematic person's store. A local gang of punks even trashed the place. Her mind and body broke down. A distant sister, maybe it was her sister, came after hearing the uproar and found the old lady in the shop, having taken her own life. The dream of being everyone's grandma quietly ended. There was a note like, "I can only atone by doing this. Please forgive me," Noah heard. Because of that place, even punks won't go there for dares. Don't get any ideas, his mother warned. You'll be cursed. But by then, the dare at the abandoned candy shop was already decided. Noah was a high school senior. His path, college or job, was mostly set. It was time to just play. Yes, trespassing could ruin everything, but teens are foolish. They didn't think about that. A death story inside their usual range, and if things got bad, they could just run. The perfect haunted spot. Noah told his friends what his mother had said. Everyone got hyped. They set a date. The night came quickly. Way spookier at night. Ethan, you feeling anything? Oh yeah, the old lady is beckoning right there. Liar, that's a total lie. They went 5 strong, including Noah. Among them was Ethan, who claimed, "I've got a 6th sense." Weird things did happen with him. Hands and feet missing in photos, orbs everywhere, even outdoors with no wind. Still, most of them half doubted him. But if you're doing a dare, you want a specialist, right? So they invited Ethan, and he happily came. He was also a cheerful clown who lifted the mood. The moment they entered the ruin, Ethan fell silent. They explored, more impressed than scared. Whoa, it really was a candy shop. Old toys are still here. Someone finally noticed Ethan's quiet and asked. He frowned and said, "Do you hear a weird sound? It's been there for a while." A sound? Yeah, like creak, creak. The mood cooled at once. That onomatopoeia forced one idea. Hanging. Where's it from? I don't hear anything. Probably deeper in. Deeper. Not the shop, but the home where the old lady had ended her life. From there came the creaking. That was chilling enough, but some people fear nothing. Let's go see. Tyler, the ringleader, moved forward excited. Hey, we came to see a ghost, right? Let's go look the old lady in the face. They didn't agree that a dare is about seeing ghosts, but they were swept along and moved deeper. With Tyler leading bravely, their fears stayed in check. Ah. Someone stopped. At the exact same moment, Noah stopped too. I heard it. I'm hearing it right now. Ugh, this is awful. Creak, 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 creak. The sound struck their ears, loud, insistent, impossible to miss. Why hadn't they heard it earlier? The question fed their dread. Tyler kept going anyway. You guys seriously hear something? I still hear nothing. They had no breath to answer. They didn't want to hear it either. Fear swallowed even their complaints. The sound drew closer. Then Tyler said, "Oh," and stopped. This looks like it.
the scene." "Ugh," Ethan grimaced, voice thick with loathing. Noah wore the same face. Creak, creak. The sound came from the room ahead, a yellowed sliding door webbed with spiders, likely the bedroom. Something awful had happened there, no question. "Nope, this room is bad, really bad." Ethan shook his head, pale. If even he was scared, the room was truly dangerous. But Tyler, who felt nothing at all, didn't get it. "Excuse us," he yanked the door open. In the next instant, Noah, Ethan, everyone, including Tyler, screamed, spun on their heels, and ran. Ah! Bad. Bad, bad, bad. That's seriously bad. The corridors were narrow. They should have taken turns. They didn't. They shoved and sprinted for the exit. They wanted distance, fast, from that bedroom. Inside had been what they feared. An elderly woman, suspended from the ceiling, swaying side to side like a pendulum. With each swing, creak, creak. Her eyes were cloudy and distant. Her mouth hung open. It was a thing they would never forget. After that, Noah says, it's a blur. They bolted from the shop and somehow ended up at Tyler's house. They sank into silence. Time passed. Terror thinned. Then a different feeling took over. We got exactly what we came for. Man, that was insane. Ghosts are real. I won't forget that hag's face. Except Ethan. He kept trembling, face pale. Cheer up. You see stuff like that all the time, right? Did you guys really see the inside of that room? Of course we did. That's why we ran. Was it only the hag? Huh? Silence fell. You only saw the hag, didn't you? Wait, there was only the hag, right? Ethan shook his head. His voice quivered. While you were staring at the hag hanging there, a girl sat in PE style on the floor, giggling and clapping. Noah's group hadn't seen her. Maybe they missed it. Maybe they couldn't see it. Even for Ethan, he only noticed the clapping once the door opened. I've never seen anything that creepy. Never doing a dare again. The ruin is still there, they say. Whether no one will tear it down, or no one can, no one knows.
I was Alice in Wonderland. At our club's ghost story night, Ava began her turn with that line. Ava was a cute girl, with a whimsically offbeat, a bit spacey vibe, the kind that attracts needless teasing and snide remarks. But she herself always smiled, unbothered, soft and sunny. Guys liked her well enough, but some girls found her annoying. So when she started with something that sounded so out there, one senior immediately heckled her. Oh, you mean when things look huge and tiny? Yeah, Alice in Wonderland syndrome is a thing. But this is a ghost night, not a medical talk. That's not the kind of scare we're here for. The room cooled at the rudeness, but it didn't last long, because Ava just laughed and said, "That's not what my story is," and went on. I could go into places other people couldn't see or reach. What do you mean? In Alice in Wonderland, the rabbit leads her to another world, right? It was really like that. I could see strange places others couldn't, and I could enter them. The tone was unlike any story so far. Even the teasers shut up. After all, everyone here liked ghost stories. Curiosity beat out their feelings about Ava. It started when I was in kindergarten. We had a shared playroom, and I noticed a staircase in the corner. There shouldn't have been a staircase there, not really. But I was a kid, so I went down. Yeah, a kindergartner would go. At the bottom, there was another room. Balls and beanbags were there, and some kids were playing. Now that I think of it, I didn't know any of them. Ava, an active child, played for a while, and then went back to the main room. The next day and the day after, the staircase was there, and she went down and played again. Then one day it ended.
I tried to take a friend, but she couldn't see any staircase at all. That's when I realized I was the only one who could see it. And when I looked back, it vanished for me too. I'd seen it just a moment earlier. After that, I never found that staircase or room again. But I kept going to other places no one else could see. Next to her house was an overgrown vacant lot, yet sometimes she saw a big house there. An older sister would invite her in and serve wonderful sweets she'd never seen. When Ava told her mom later, Mom scolded her. Never go into empty houses. She didn't believe the older sister part at all. At a shrine festival, Ava followed someone walking behind the grounds. There were stalls and dancing there too, and everyone wore masks. She had no money, so she went back to ask her parents. They said, "There are no stalls behind the shrine." When she took her mother to look, no one was there. Ava had more such places: a ladder under a hospital bed, a courtyard behind the columbarium, a triangular room past a door at the back of a closet. Some vanished if she told people. Others remained even if she talked. But her time as Alice didn't last. When I turned 10, I stopped seeing them at all. All the secret playgrounds were gone. I remember being pretty disappointed. But didn't it cause trouble if you slipped into those places all the time? People would think you disappeared. Oh, it was fine. I think time flows differently there and here. Even if she played for a long while in the strange places, almost no time had passed when she came back. 1 hour there became only a few minutes here, most of the time.
That's amazing. A perfect secret base. Playing forever and no one scolds you. A kid's paradise. Time is a child's enemy. When the sun sets, you must go home or face the parental fist. So yes, not bringing friends was a downside, but for a bold kid like Ava, it sounded like a paradise. Ava gently shook her head. I never stayed that long. She smiled wryly and continued, eyes a little far away. At first, it's super fun. You can shout and no one scolds you. No need to watch the clock. But if you stay too long, you start to feel sick. The room, which had warmed with dreamy wonder, went silent. That feeling told me, I have to go back now. Looking back, maybe it was my instincts warning me. Warning? If you stay, you won't get back. Okay, this was a real ghost story. Belatedly, everyone realized Ava's tale fit the night. The mood nicely chilled, her story ended. Next story, then another. The event went smoothly to its end. We weren't doing 100 stories or anything. We stopped when people got tired. The next day, Ava stopped coming. She was a bit sloppy about life stuff, so we figured she was drowning in assignments or something. But when the university posted a request for information, we learned we were wrong. The day after the ghost night, Ava left for school and vanished. No one had any special info from her, no idea where she might go. But a pretty girl from our club disappearing was sensational, and people started gossiping. Gross and careless. Ava was kind of spacey, right? Maybe some creep hit on her and she eloped. Could be a guy. She was cute. Some traded theories. Others glared from a distance. No one actually stopped the gossip. Her name became their snack. That's not it! A girl who'd been silent in the corner suddenly shouted. She had been close to Ava. Everyone thought she simply snapped at the insults toward a missing friend. The talker shuffled out, awkward. Sorry, we should have stopped that. It would make anyone angry. Wrong, that's not it. Huh? She didn't run away with someone. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Eyes wide, she repeated it again and again, unnerving. We felt a chill and a wrongness, but she was a hurting friend. So someone asked gently, What do you mean? She held out her phone. On the screen, an email from someone. The first person to look gasped. The sender was Ava, but what is this? Did Ava really send it? The message text was garbled, impossible to read. But the timestamp was the morning of the day after the ghost night. Clearly, it arrived after Ava disappeared. At first, it wasn't like this. It came in as normal letters. Wait, so it got garbled after you received it? Could that even happen? An email becoming unreadable after reception? She nodded. Someone asked carefully, "Then, what did it say at first?" She answered quietly, "I can't get out." Ava still hasn't been found. They took the email to the police, but they said they couldn't trace where it came from.
This happened when I was in middle school. Back then, I lived in a rural village in western Japan. My family were landowners. I lived with my parents and my grandmother on my father's side, the four of us. My grandfather had died of illness when I was little, so as far back as I remember, it was just the three of them and me. We owned a lot of land, mostly fields, and made a living renting or selling parcels. From a young age, I felt many people gathered around us, adults and kids alike watching our mood. It wasn't only because we were landowners. Our family had Tobio possession. Tobio is a snake spirit revered in our region, said to wear a golden collar. A family that keeps the snake spirit is called Tobio possession, and if you venerate it, your house will prosper and be lucky. It can also curse people you dislike. Even just feeling, "I don't like that person," could bring harm to them, people said. But if a Tobio family neglects the spirit, a terrible curse will fall on them. City people might not believe it, but in our village, everyone recognized and revered the Tobio. My grandmother was especially devout. Every morning, noon, and night, she brought offerings and prayed. You might imagine a household altar, but we kept the Tobio under the floor. Under the floor was a beautifully decorated large jar, and they said the Tobio was inside. "Aki, the Tobio will protect us. Let's pray together," Grandma often said. I loved my kind grandmother. In contrast, my mother was skeptical. Really, she didn't believe at all and wasn't interested. When I talked about the Tobio, she'd say, "Have you ever seen it? It's not real." Well, whatever. Go humor your grandma. She preferred to tell stories about the town we'd lived in before. There was a convenience store just a short walk from home, a department store nearby, shopping anytime. Well, we had no money back then, and even if we had, not much to do in the countryside. My father barely came home. He was starting a new business in town. As winter came, Grandma's back pain worsened, and she became nearly bedridden. Too old for surgery, she weakened day by day. Mom and I nursed her, but as she stopped moving, she stared blankly longer, and dementia symptoms began. When clear-headed, she constantly worried about the Tobio. "Haru, did you put out the morning offering? Haru, please change the Tobio's water." She called for my mother about the Tobio at every turn. Mom would answer, "Yes, I did." But I never saw her actually offer or clean anything. Once I told Mom, Grandma asked, "Don't lie." She snapped, "Go study. You're taking high school exams. It's not easy." After that, I stopped saying anything. I wasn't unhappy with our life, but I longed for the city. After junior high, I planned to live at Dad's apartment in town and commute to high school. I holed up and studied. Spring ended and exam season truly began. By then, Grandma muttered to herself a lot, and her lucid moments were rare. Then one day, Dad came home. Ugh, what's that smell? He shouted. Mom and I hadn't noticed anything. What smell? We said. He stalked through the house. It's from here, he pointed, to the space under the floor where the Tobio was kept. Come to think of it, we haven't opened it in a while. Maybe I forgot to clear an offering, Mom said, and opened the hatch. Gross! Even from a distance, I could tell it reeked, like a kitchen trap stink multiplied many times. The jar is broken, Dad said. I leaned in. The jar was shattered and a thick slurry spread over the shards. That was the source of the stench. This is bad, really bad, Dad said. The three of us cleaned it up, swore Grandma to secrecy, and Dad said he'd buy a new jar. The next day, my mother died. On her bike from shopping, she fell into an irrigation channel and drowned, on a road she knew by heart. Why? Was it the Tobio? Thoughts spun in my head. Dad was the same, face pale, lips trembling. After the funeral, he couldn't hold it in. He confessed the jar to Grandma. Her blank eyes snapped wide. Fools! I warned you! She screamed and grabbed Dad. Then tears welled fast. You and I, fine, but Aki, poor Aki, she said, hugging me, crying. Seeing her, I felt strangely calm. Something truly terrible had happened. After that, everything crashed. Almost nothing grew on our land. Fields withered into barrens. Renters vanished. No buyers. Dad couldn't borrow from banks. His business in town stalled. Within half a year, we struggled to eat. Grandma still drifted in and out, and I stayed near her as much as I could, partly because I missed Mom, partly because I was scared. One day, Dad came home with sukiyaki ingredients. The three of us ate hot pot, and I felt happy for the first time in a while. After dinner, Dad went into Grandma's room and didn't come out. By morning, he was gone. Grandma felt unusually well that day. We talked about memories and enjoyed ourselves. Past noon, I stood to make gyudon from leftover sukiyaki, and the phone rang. It was Dad's company. He had died. They found him in the office, hanged. I collapsed, crying. Grandma said nothing. She just held me. I cried as if for a lifetime. When I woke, it was past 3 a.m. I heard a voice. I went to the room with the floor hatch. Grandma's voice. Araso, karaso, nayatoya, nayatoya. She was chanting sutras, kneeling before the hatch in only a thin underrobe, praying with all her might. You'll catch a cold. I touched her. Her body was drenched. Grandma, what happened? Aki, pray with me, she said. You will be safe. Her intensity left me speechless. I knelt beside her, closed my eyes, and joined my hands. Listening to her chant with eyes closed, happy memories and recent tragedies alternated, and tears spilled on their own. Lonely and hurting, I moved closer. Inside the soaked robe, I felt Grandma's living warmth, and it soothed me. Time slipped away. I must have fallen asleep. When I woke, Grandma lay over me, asleep, and morning light filled the room. Grandma? I touched her. Something was wrong. She was cold and stiff. That day, I lost my last family. I barely remember what followed. Somehow people came. Somehow a funeral was held. And somehow I was living with distant relatives. There I learned something. A faint, rope-like mark coiled around my neck, like a snake had crawled there. Honestly, I didn't care about the mark or anything. After crying my lifetime's tears, I felt almost no emotions. When my uncle began touching me, when his wife served me only a single slice of bread, when girls at school hid my shoes and gym clothes, I didn't react. Whatever they did, I felt nothing. But the mark on my neck darkened day by day, as if drinking my negative feelings. Years passed with my heart empty. Near high school graduation, I visited Grandma's grave. As I pressed my hands together, I thought I heard Aki in Grandma's voice and remembered the past. Because our old home was far, I stayed at a nearby hotel. That night, I had a dream. For some reason, I was tiny like a baby, and Grandma held me. Smiling, she said, "Aki, you're okay now. Live your own life. It was hard, I know, but it's okay. Grandma and the Tobio are praying." A white snake coiled around her neck, staring at me. Sometimes it opened its mouth to bite me, but snagged on her neck and couldn't reach. "Grandma!" I cried. "Aki, I'm always watching you. I'm always on your side," she said and smiled. I woke up. For the first time in years, tears flowed without end. Emotions rushed back like a broken dam, and I cried until morning. Even with no sleep, my heart felt clear. The day after we returned from the grave on a Sunday, as usual, my aunt went to work, and as usual, my uncle entered my room. The instant his rough fingers touched my thigh, a visceral disgust surged through me. For so long I had felt nothing, and my body kicked him away on its own. "Don't touch me with those filthy hands, you creep!" The words burst out, faster than I could think. Stunned, he fell on his rear, mouth opening and closing. Anger rose inside me as I saw how pathetic he looked. I kept cursing him, threatening to tell the police, to tell his wife. The lines flowed easily. He stammered, "Calm down," eyes blinking. Ridiculous. I told him I'd leave after graduation and made him promise never to enter my room again. "All right, I understand," he said. From that day, he acted oddly polite, clearly afraid of me and testing my mood. I changed at school, too. Next morning, a few girls surrounded my desk. "Makeup time again," they said, holding erasers like powder puffs near my face. My right hand moved on its own. I drove my fist straight into the bridge of her nose. She gasped and reeled back. Blood spurted from her nose. "Your breath stinks," I said, words slipping out cleanly. The girl panicked. "But blood, why?" Her clique fussed. "Are you okay?" One shouted, "What's wrong with you?" I kicked upward into her mouth. Her head jerked. She didn't fall, but even I was surprised at how much blood spilled. The rest turned pale. "Sorry, please stop," they said, and then the homeroom teacher arrived and stopped me. In the guidance room, before the teacher, the dean, and the vice principal, I calmly explained. The teacher must have noticed the bullying, what I'd endured for 3 years, how no one helped me. The teacher just opened and closed his mouth, sweat pouring down his forehead. Later, the girls' parents came. My aunt came, but I didn't attend. The vice principal said, "You don't need to apologize. If you don't want to go, don't. I believe you." It wasn't that I refused. I just didn't care anymore. At home, my aunt said happily, "So you were being bullied?" The next day, I went to school as usual. The 2 girls were absent. Whatever. I just wanted to graduate and live my life. After that, people treated me like something fragile. They avoided me, but didn't harass me. I felt clear and spent the time until graduation in peace. Right after graduation, I moved to Tokyo. My uncle co-signed my first apartment. After that, I supported myself with night work, finished university, and now I'm a counselor with a clinical psychology license. There was a lot of pain, but I remembered Grandma's voice and got through. Sometimes the past feels like a dream, but the mark around my neck, still clear, reminds me it was real. That is my true story. Is anyone here from a Tabio possession lineage? Please, leave a comment.